Okay, I just watched Squid Game. I binged it for 2 days. In 24 hours, I watched the entire show, and I just have to talk about this series. Yesterday, someone posted this Iceberg chart on the Iceberg chart subreddit, and since it's been taken down, it is no longer available. So you guys are the VIPs today, because this is limited content. This is lost media. So if you're into Squid Game and you want to hear about all the behind-the-scenes content, all of the theories, controversies, and just everything about it, stay tuned, because I have it all today, right? I'm really proud of this one. If you don't know how an iceberg chart works, it takes an array of information and it ranks it based on obscurity. So at the top, it should be stuff that everyone really should know. And at the bottom, there's things that you might not actually know about the show. And there's a lot. And yeah, I mean, it goes without saying that there's going to be some massive spoilers here. So spoiler warning, please click away. If you haven't seen the show, go watch it now. This video is going to be here by the time you get back. It is fantastic. Spoiler warning, because it has so many twists and turns. Even if you haven't finished it yet, put it in your save later, hit me up with a sub, and then come back to me in a couple of days' time, later today, or maybe tomorrow or this week, whenever you want. This video will always be here. I'm so excited to share my excitement with you guys. Without further ado, this is the Squid Game Iceberg Explained. So up first, we have the idea that Squid Game is trending in all 190 countries that it is available in. And of course it is. I mean, if there's one thing that you need to know about the show right now, it is that it is an absolute gargantuan monster of a TV series. It's the talk of the town right now, and it doesn't even surprise me because this show is pure quality. I mean, we all know that Netflix always has its biggest show ever, whether it be Bridgerton, 13 Reasons Why, Sex Education, The Witcher, Stranger Things, House of Cards, you name it. There's always the next big show on Netflix that always comes out once a year. People talk about it for a couple weeks and then it dies till the next season. But right now it's Squid Game, and this is bigger than anything else. This is one of the biggest fan reactions to a TV show I've ever heard. It's been pushed hard on social media, and no wonder. It is a gargantuan show, and it will be a zeitgeist of 2021. The Dalgona Trend. Apologies if I have mispronounced that, but straight up, apologies to any Koreans watching because I'm about to butcher your beautiful language. I'll try my best though, I promise. So the Dalgona, to my understanding, is the honeycomb things in the second game that they have to cut out. It's the food, and it is a Korean delicacy, if I'm not mistaken. There seems to be a trend online right now because people are trying to make their own at home. There's a video on TikTok that shows you how to do it, and it's getting a crazy amount of shares and views. And yeah, it's just become a trend, and this is the kind of stuff I love. I don't know if Dalgona is culturally significant to Koreans, but the fact that through this show we can all kind of share and experience this together, and you can broadcast some parts of your culture with the rest of the world, is phenomenal. Just having people from all over the world interested in this kind of stuff, it just warms my heart a little bit. The Roblox fish game, if you're unaware, this is the Roblox version of Squid Game. You can play all of the games in Squid Game on Roblox, I believe. I don't know why you would, but fair game. There are several of them. The most popular is red light, green light. I've seen some videos of people playing it online, and I mean, yeah, it's just the Roblox version of the game. Moi kochi pyo sumnida. Apologies again. These are the words said by the massive doll in the red light, green light game. So after looking it up online, it seems as though the literal translations of these words means the hibiscus flowers bloom, which might not mean anything to English speakers like you or I, but to Korean speakers, this is their version of red light, green light. So whereas in English we will freeze when someone says red light, in Korean it's after someone says moi kochi pyo sumnida. It's their version of the game, basically. So next up, we have the pink uniforms and the green jumpsuits, which I've tried my best to replicate in the lighting today. So why this distinct choice in attire? It definitely catches the eye. I can't say that they ever explain it in the show, I don't think they do, but using my knowledge of film, aesthetically, they've used a little bit of color theory here. So green and pink are kind of on opposite sides of the color wheel, and so they look very good in contrast. Stylistically, they just work well off of each other. However, there is this theory that it is based on what the participants chose with the card game. At the beginning of the show, Ji-hoon chooses the blue card to play Jackie with, and he winds up as a player wearing a turquoise color. If he chose red, the theory states that he might have been chosen to be a guard, because these guards are also kind of victims of oppression. They moderate the game, but we're also shown throughout the series that they too have it a bit rough. There are no winners, just those at the top. And both colours are quite close, but not exact to the original choice. One massive unanswered question is, how were these guards recruited? Because they don't seem massively competent. A few of the players get the jump on them throughout the show, especially the guards with the circles on them. It's not like these are trained too well. They're not massive assassins or anything. Could they just be normal civilians who have been whipped into shape and told that they have to serve? We might just have to wait for Season 2 to find out. Speaking of Season 2 predictions, this is a loose entry, but I'm going to give you mine, alright? I will wager you anything you want on this. I will join the Squid Game if I get this wrong, alright? I am confident enough to give a spoiler for Season 2 warning. So click away if you don't want to have any spoilers for Season 2, because this is going to happen, or skip to the timestamp on the screen now for some predicted Season 2 spoilers, because I will wager anything you want on this. There is no way the detective is dead. It's not happening. He is not dead at all. There's no way. He tries to resend those pictures. He gets shot, not in a life-threatening place, just in the shoulder. He falls off the cliff. You don't hear his body hit rocks because he hits the water, and then you don't see his body. He is alive. Rule of thumb, if a character's body isn't seen, they are not dead. We know that the hard way. So yeah, I will willingly sign away my bodily rights if he is not in Season 2, or at least later on in the show, if they do a Season 3 or 4, he's still alive. I also feel as though, because he has a relation to the front man, perhaps he is Ilnam's son, maybe. I feel as though Ilnam and the front man have some better connection rather than just the front man won the games. But maybe Ilnam is just Ji-hoon's father, so maybe there's going to be some sort of Star Wars I am your father thing in Season 2 or 3. Another prediction is that because everyone else is dead, the front man and the detective are going to become major players in Season 2. They were kind of off to the side a little bit in Season 1 because it was more about the players. It was more about Saibyok and more about Sungwoo and Ali. But Season 2 is going to probably revolve more around the wider picture and kind of like Hunger Games 2, 3, and 4 taking down the establishment. So I kind of feel like it's going to take a Hunger Games Rebellion style take on things. But I might be wrong. I'm really interested to see what happens. And to be honest, I don't really want to see a rebellion. I just want to see more Squid Game. Of course, they can't just have another 400 people getting slaughtered every season. Like, that wouldn't be as fun unless they do it in more new and exciting ways. But who knows? If you guys have any theories, please leave them down in the comments, because I would so love to read them. And we'll make a little game out of it as well. I will pin the best one. Triangle, star, circle, umbrella. These are the shapes that you cut out in Dalgona. Each player has to carve out these shapes from a very thin piece of honeycomb. And if you don't, you die. If it breaks, you die. And in the context of this show, this is the first time that we see that Sungwoo is a little bit of a snake in the grass, because it seems as though he actually knows what these shapes represented, and he let Ji-hoon choose the umbrella. When I was watching this show, I kind of played along as well, and I was like, you know what, maybe I would choose the umbrella. I would be dead. Like, straight up, I would die. But yeah, it's implied that he knew that Ji-hoon was going to die, and he let it happen anyway, and Ji-hoon was just lucky to come back. Sungwoo's character is more interesting and complex than most, I would say, because he definitely has his ideas of survival at any cost, and his intentions are pure because he wants to give everything to his mum, because even if he gets out, he's probably going to get arrested anyway. So winning at any cost might be a bit morally dubious, because he did lose from time to time, but at the same time, you know, his intentions were pure. So love him or hate him, he is just such a complex character. One of my favorites, and that's going to be quite controversial, the logos. So at first I didn't know what this show was. I thought that this was just some sort of PlayStation like exclusive membership card or something, like a platinum card, but they never really go to explain what the symbols on the invitation meant. And if any of you guys are actually interested in finding out what the symbols actually meant, I know. It's the circle, triangle, and square that I'm talking about, and these are actually letters of the Korean alphabet, written in Hangul, the Korean writing system. So the circle is the letter O, the triangle is part of the letter J, and the square is M. So side by side, it reads OJM, which are the initials of Squid Game in Korean, which is read as Ojingyo Giem. Burn the tip. It is a simple, quick one here. It's a strategy to cut out shapes in the Dalgona game. Obviously, that woman that I hated, the really annoying one, she used it and then she gave it to the bully guy. I don't know names. Number 101, I remember his number. It was cheating, but the heat melts the honeycomb, and so it's a lot easier to cut out. This iceberg has up next the dreadfulness of binge watching. And I mean, for most shows, I don't really like binge watching. I like a one show a week kind of time to talk about it and reflect on it. It gives us more time throughout the year as well, so the next season comes a bit faster, so I prefer that. But for a show like this, I really don't mind because each episode gives you a little cliffhanger at the end and you just want to see the next. I watched this show over a 24-hour period in 2 days. The show is 9 episodes total, and each episode ranges between 35 and 65 minutes, so it's about 8 hours. And now after all of this, I'm going to have to wait an extra year and a half for season 2, so great. If it even comes at all, it hasn't even been confirmed yet. I'm not massive on binging personally, but I know a lot of people are, so I don't really have anything else to say on this front. This doll is creepy, obviously referring to the doll in the red light, green light game. And yes, it is. It's a creepy doll and it actually exists in real life. This is an entry later down, but I'll just get to it now. You can see this thing in real life. You can visit a village in Korea, and yes, it is just as big as it is in the show. They borrowed it for filming. She guards the entrance of the horse carriage museum in Markeland, and some shops in the Philippines have actually been using it to deter shoplifting, which is quite interesting. In the UK, we just get cutouts of police officers and put them in shop windows. Yeah, interesting one that. Yeah, I've never thought of this before, but there has been a bit of a mix-up between Squid Game and Splatoon, because Splatoon is a game with squids in it. I guess a couple of kids have gone like, oh, it's just Splatoon or whatever, and must have seen some really horrifying stuff. One is a show set in a dystopian world where people murder each other to win vast amounts of money, and one of them is Nintendo's answer to Call of Duty, where you kill people by chucking paint at them. Very different, but named almost quite similarly, I guess. Not a good one to mix up. Halloween costumes. Yes, this is going to be the costume of the year. As I said earlier, it's a zeitgeist of 2021. When people look back at this year, Squid Game is going to be a big part of it, especially the Halloween season. I've seen so many Instagram pages just selling, like, you know, the jumpsuits and the pink bodysuits and stuff. If we're looking back and stuff, 2016 was like Joker and Harley, everyone was that. 2017 was Rick and Morty, everyone. This year, it's going to be Squid Game guards, and probably even a few contestants. I think I'm going to go as a Bavarian this year. I think I'm going to go as a German guy. I'll get some lederhosen, I'll get a hat with a feather, and I'll get myself a Stein, and I'll kind of like fill it up with beer. I mean, yeah, there's not really too much to say. They're selling the guard costumes on Amazon for like 30 quid this year. At least that's what I've seen. Even the participants is quite easy because you just need a white t-shirt and then turquoise green tracksuit. Just stick a little number on it and then you're good. Speaking of costumes, we have the golden masks up next. These are the ones that the VIPs wear, and they don't really go into why they wear these masks, at least the VIPs, because they all know each other. And also, why the animal? Is there anything significant about the animal they wear? Does it represent anything about them? Although a lot of people say that they were a weak spot in season 1, in season 2, I do want to learn more about the VIPs because there's going to be some more out there. And this one will just be a really easy costume because it's basically just a masquerade mask. Just put on a mask, put on a suit if you have one already. Cheap as chips. It's just another really easy one for this Halloween season. Down to the next tier, we have Battle Royale brackets Japan, which is a reference to the film that inspired it all. Essentially, every TV show or movie today owes a lot to something that came before it. The Walking Dead, for example, or any zombie movie for that matter, owes a lot to George Romero's Dawn of the Dead. That was the origins of zombies. The origins of vampires, at least in film form, was Nosferatu, so a lot of vampire films owe a lot to that. These films are genre defining, and in 2000, Kinji Fukasaku defined the Battle Royale genre. It has a distinction of being Tarantino's favorite film, and it has to be in my top 10, maybe even top 5, maybe even favorite. It could be. I need to rewatch it because I saw it for the first time over the summer and it is absolutely phenomenal. Western audiences have seen The Hunger Games. It was one of the biggest franchises of the early 2010s. So imagine the first one without the politics, with more philosophy and infinitely better. Just like Squid Game, it asks, what is the cost of self-preservation? What would you do to survive? And we get to see the story of about 40 schoolchildren who knew each other. Mind you, they grew up together, all being from the same class, and we get to see their struggles with friend turning on friend, foe turning on foe. Some players are really aggressive and go out for the kill. Some players want to hide away. Some want to unite. Some of them capitalize on that naivety. It's one of the greatest films I've ever seen, and provided you can deal with some very mature themes within, I'd wholeheartedly recommend it. If you like Squid Game, you would like Battle Royale, I'm sure of it. Especially if you're a film student or you're a fan of the Battle Royale genre, this is one that you absolutely have to see. Clashing with Alice in Borderland, this is something that I've actually seen online, and I don't really get it. Granted, I haven't seen a lot of Alice in Borderland, but I've seen a lot of fans go, Squid Game is overrated. Try watching Alice in Borderland, that's like so much better. And yeah, it does appear as though the two have similar premises, not to say that Squid Game copied Alice in Borderland, the script was written like 10 years ago. Borderland also happens to be Asian cinema too, so a lot of Westerners will compare the two of them. It just happens. So my question is, why can't we appreciate both? Just because one is good doesn't mean the other one is bad. I like The Hunger Games, but I love Battle Royale. Just because I think that Battle Royale is one of the best films ever doesn't mean that Hunger Games is necessarily bad. Let's just appreciate them both and squash this rivalry. Bad English dubbers. Yeah, I get this. I turned on the English dub for like 5 seconds in the second episode, and it was bad. It's kind of tough to dub live action. It's not like anime where mouths are moving like that. We have so much more wide expression of our faces, and so it is kind of tough to dub that. Halfway through the second episode where Sae-byeok was talking to her brother, I switched it, and it's just not good. It's not great. Either way, if you haven't seen this before, break down the 2-inch barrier of subtitles, watch it subbed, because it's just infinitely better. I sound like a weeb, but I just like foreign media, so yeah. Watch it with subs. This is something that I didn't even realize, and I feel like an idiot. A few of the games were written on the walls. You could have had plenty of time to prepare. I think if I was in there, I think I would have realized. A lot of lives could have been sent in the Dalgona game if they just realized they saw the images and they were like, oh, it must be Dalgona. Squid Game and Red Light, Green Light were also on the walls. For the Red Light, Green Lights, I can understand someone dying there because they don't really understand what's going on. And for Squid Game, everyone's dead already, but at least for the Dalgona game, that is also on the walls. A lot of people could have been saved if they just would have gone for the circle. This is one of the things that the show is absolutely spectacular at. It hides stuff in plain sight, and you're just too immersed in seeing these characters die and too worried for other ones that it goes completely over your head at first viewing. It is phenomenal.
Tomorrow.
Okay, hello. We're going to finish this video now. Fly Me to the Moon. I believe that this song is used twice throughout the show, but for the life of me, I can't remember the second time it is. But the first time is a brilliant moment of TV magic, and the intensity of the Red Light, Green Light game juxtaposed beautifully with the calm, soothing nature of Fly Me to the Moon. It's such a smooth song. It's simply a smooth, joyful, kind of calm song. And to have the frontman listening to this song, pouring himself a glass of whiskey whilst people are dying and begging for help as they bleed out and get shot to death is beautiful. When you do something like this, you can clearly contrast kind of what's going on, and it just works. The juxtaposition here is phenomenal. To be honest, this might be like one of my favorite scenes in the show. The phone number raiding. So this is the first big piece of controversy that the show has kind of spouted out for us. Basically, on the card, the one where you sign up to the Squid Game, there is a number on there. And unfortunately, they didn't check it beforehand, I guess. You would have thought they did, but apparently the phone number is actually real, and someone's been getting thousands and thousands of phone calls every day of people trying to sign up to the Squid Game and just like kind of contact her. I don't know if it's illegal for the show to do that. I don't know if she's entitled to any compensation, perhaps, but this is actually quite interesting. Due to this, I believe that the scene is going to be either altered or deleted entirely so that people can't just look up the phone number. I mean, they could online, but at least if it's taken out of the show, then they are less liable for some stuff. I don't know. So yeah, I guess that's like the first release scene that now it's going to be lost media, even though it won't be at all lost because it's like the biggest show in the world. I don't think I have anything else other to say than that. So let's move on. The Phillipino doll replica, I think I spoke about that earlier. Basically, they're putting the doll from Red Light, Green Light in shops, I guess, to deter shoplifters. It's meant to scare criminals, and that's just kind of funny to me. The next entry is quite an interesting one. It says smart directing for a connection with the characters. And I'm not entirely sure what that means, but I'm going to interpret it as episode 2. A lot of people think that episode 2 is the weakest episode of the show, but to me, it's actually one of the best. Definitely one of the most important because it establishes reason why every single character needs to be there. For Sang-woo, he wants to take care of his mum. For Se-byok, she wants to take care of her brother. For Ali, he wants to take care of his family. For Ji-hoon, he wants to take care of his mother. For number 101, he was on the run anyway, so he would have been tracked down, so might as well win a bit of money, I guess. It might not fulfill the bloodlust that you have when you're trying to watch the show, but it is so incredibly important because without that episode, we wouldn't have the connections with the characters that we have. You wouldn't care so much for Ali. You wouldn't care so much for Sang-woo or Se-byok. They would be quite two-dimensional, but if you put that in, we can get behind them. We know their motivations, so we will be more willing to feel sad if they die or be tense if they're kind of up against the wall. It might not be the prettiest episode, but episode 2 is perhaps the most important of the entire show, at least in terms of future payoff. Kids watching, even though they shouldn't, this is completely true. This show is not meant for kids. Even if you're 13 or 14, you should not be watching this show. Just because it's a trend doesn't mean that it's appropriate, and it's like, let us adults have a trend. Let us have one trend, kids. You don't have to hop on everything. We don't need any Squid Game songs. We don't need no Squid Game dances. It's simply not appropriate for 13 or 14-year-olds, but I would be lying if I was to say that I never consumed inappropriate content when I was like 13 or 14. Everyone did. The show itself is a reflection on simpler times being a child, being able to go out with your friends and kind of play. And if you're like 10, then you're still living in those times, so it won't really resonate with you as much. The show's themes will kind of get lost on you because you're not yearning for those younger years. Either way, I guess I am a bit of a hypocrite. Coco Zhang is up next, and to be honest, I don't actually know too much about this one, so apologies. I've had a bit of trouble finding this, but I think that this is the arcade where Ji-hoon wins his daughter's present. The only thing I can find is this article online, which I will link in the description, and it's about the South Korean government helping arcades and working with Coco Zhang to do so. So perhaps it's a chain or something, maybe? That's what I think. I will link the article in the description though. This one, I just don't know. Next tier now, and we have Rule 34 Squid Game. Of course there would be, so it exists, there's Rule 34 of it. The show's been out for what, 2 weeks? There's definitely some up there. I don't think there's anything else I can say about it. Rule 34, it exists. I didn't even realize this, but it was a good catch by the maker of this Iceberg, or whoever first kind of found it. One of the songs, the one used at the very start, and I think it's also used kind of throughout the show a little bit, sounds suspiciously like Jingle Bells. When I heard it, I knew I'd heard it somewhere before, but it is very similar to Jingle Bells. In fairness, it kind of works with what's happening. It's kind of like almost playing the recorder or something, and it's joyous, but almost got like a bit of a military vibe to it. At least that's what I hear. So it kind of does match what's going on in the scene. It's like obviously played in the very first one. Yeah, just a nice little catch there. The actual island's location. So if you want to know where basically anywhere in the show was shot, look no further than the Google Earth guy on TikTok. He seems to be finding all of the locations. The actual island might actually exist, at least the exterior shots of it, and I think that he has found it. It seems to be called Sungbongri, and it's even tagged on Google Maps as Squid Game Island. It's important to remember though that whilst there might be some exterior shots there, the actual show was not shot there. Most of the actors, if not all of them, likely never even stepped foot on that island. It was just that they went there to take some kind of shots of the island and then came back, and everything else was probably done on set somewhere in Seoul. Okay, so there are some countries that Netflix is in, and there are some countries that Netflix is not in. China happens to be one of those countries. It goes without saying that the Chinese government have some serious problems with censorship. They like to censor a lot of stuff over there, but that doesn't stop people from seeking out by alternative means. The Great Firewall of China is in place, but people have been hopping over it as of recent because the Chinese just really want to see Squid Game. The series has been pirated all over there. I think the creators said they know that it's been pirated all the time over there, but they're like, you know what? Fine. But you cannot see it legally. Even still, it's been searched for, and it is a huge trend even over in China. Okay, remember back to about 5 minutes ago when I was talking about the phone number? Well, actually, it turns out that there's this politician. He's running for the Korean presidential election coming up, and he's actually offered to buy the phone number for $84,000, which is 100 million won. It's a good idea, actually. I don't know anything about the guy. I don't know anything about his policies, but his idea is that people will call him up and he'll be able to kind of tell them his manifesto over the phone. Again, I don't know anything about his policies, so I might be saying that like this awful guy is awesome, but that's kind of a baller move. His name is Kyung Young, by the way. That's his name. Kyung Young has tried to, I guess, buy the rights to the phone number. Why didn't Junho shoot the pig mask guy? It's actually a good question. Is he meant to be a pig? I thought he was a bear. And then I also thought he was a pig. I don't know what he was meant to be. He might have been a pig. And to be honest, I don't have an answer for this one. If he's going to kill all the workers, why didn't he kill the elite? He just knocked him out, didn't he? Which is a very good question. I don't really know, but it's probably for the sake of the plot. They'll likely have him and the rest of the VIPs back in future seasons. At least I would think. Otherwise, it would just make sense to kill him. Because again, if you're going to kill the workers, why not just kill the people at the top that are like facilitating all of this? Although I guess he wasn't really in danger, so can you... I don't know, it's a good question. I want to know why he didn't kill the front man when he had the chance. Before he knew it was his brother, why didn't he just put one between the eyes? Instead he shot him in like the arm or the shoulder, which doesn't really make too much sense, but again, probably for the sake of the plot. This is another one that I can't give you a proper answer for because the next one is about like a mental diagnosis of the people and the players, and I should be the last person on planet Earth to give any form of mental diagnosis. Babies would be better at giving a mental diagnosis than me. I am in no way qualified to do that. Obviously with Ji-hoon, he is a gambler, so a lot of that might be genetic, right? Gambling is like a genetic component. So I guess mentally he has a bit of like risk taking. And then we have Il-nam, who mentally he kind of has his tumor, so that might impact what he does. I think the dementia was for show. I think that was all kind of part of his act. At least originally I thought that was part of his plan, that he would act like a helpless old man and then people would carry him to the final and then he'd betray them eventually. That's what I thought. But he did say his tumor was real, so perhaps maybe it started messing with him upstairs. Don't dig into my answer too deep because there really isn't anything there. I'm just spitballing right now. I mean, I've seen some people call Sungwoo a sociopath online, and I'm kind of interested to hear what you guys have to say because yes, what he did to Ali was obviously awful. It was an awful thing to do, but he was also playing the game. He wanted to live to get the money to his mum by absolutely any means necessary. He killed himself to get the money for his mum. And I want to know your opinion on this. His tactics, were they fair? Was he a snake in the grass, or was he just a master tactician? Was he just a logical person that didn't want to die? Let me know in the comments because I'd be really interested to hear your side of the debate in this argument. So yeah, let's do that. Squid Game might become real in the future. I mean, yeah, like potentially a number of things could become real. Dystopian futures are a possibility. And to be fair, is this not just a more evolved form of like gladiator battles? We've been betting on each other's lives for thousands of years. This is just that on a larger scale. Like take it back 2,000 years, man versus lion, or even man versus man stabbing at each other. People put money on that. So this is just that. Much larger. The Squid Game was created by mentally ill people. I mean, maybe. I don't know who made the Squid Game apart from Il-nam, but was he in cahoots with anyone else? It must have not just been him, right? Perhaps it's something overseas as well. We won't really be able to say until at least season 2. Yeah, I mean, we'll have to find out the larger scale fundamentals when season 2 drops and the curtain opens up and we can kind of see what's going on behind the scenes. Yeah, and finally for today, we have the darkest entry of them all, the most obscure. It is Squid Game YouTube poops. I have a massive respect for the YouTube poop community. Every time there's something out there, they will absolutely shitpost it, and I can really get behind that. You guys have my respect, YTPers. You guys have my respect. So anyway, that is it from me today. Thank you very, very much for watching. And if you wouldn't mind, maybe hit me up with a sub. That'd be quite nice. We're building this channel from the ground up, and it would be amazing to have you as part of the community. Speaking of which, a way you can get involved is by joining the Discord. We have a lovely, thriving Discord community right now. So don't ruin it, but come join if you're a good time, because it's just really fun. And I'm there all the time and we can chat. Speaking of social media, I have a Twitter and an Instagram, and I also have an email, which I haven't been plugging as much recently, but if you want to send me something, foxakimbo@gmail.com. As for my Twitter and Instagram, they're both at FoxAkimbo, and all the links to this will be in the description. I also have a Patreon for a bunch of exclusive content, and I will be doing some stuff quite soon for my patrons. As I say every video, I'm always doing stuff for the patrons, you know, love you guys. Speaking of my patrons, Cage101, Chris M, and Brandon. You guys are legends. Thank you very much for supporting the channel. Speaking of shout outs, thank you very much to the person who made this iceberg. I've forgotten your name, but you are in my Discord, so if you see this video, I want to thank you very much. I see this one here by Tasker, so I'm going to assume that's you. As I said earlier, it was taken down, but I think it might have been re-uploaded now. Yeah, it's been reposted, so thank you very much, Tasker, or whoever you are. And yeah, I think that's all I have to say for this one. So please let me know down in the comments what you'd like to see me do next, because I'm only 76 videos in and I'm already out of ideas. Thank you for watching.